Hi, this is Graphically Alex coming at you with all things fat related. If that's something that interests you, please subscribe. I'd love to have you. Let's go ahead and continue. We're doing June, so I have a name for it. It is Flop Crazy June. I'm flop crazy. I'm flop crazy. No, I'm just kidding. For anybody who is a Kesha fan, you'll know what that is. But basically, I'm flopping like a Magikarp all June anyways. And honestly, for so many reasons, I need to do this in June. I think, too, as I'm getting into it. It's just about to actually be June. I'm filming this on the 31st. And my hormones are getting crazy a little bit. And it's a little rough in these weight loss parts. So I kind of need some support. I need that extra motivation. So as well as all the other reasons I listed yesterday. But let's go ahead and continue, or let's do this.
They talk to me about my body.
Yeah.
So I'm clocking it left and right. And even with this week, as we were talking about it, you had a couple instances. I had a couple instances. Like, it happens all the time.
Oh,
it happens
yes.
all the time.
Like nonstop.
I went to get my hair cut this week.
For our listeners, she was modeling her new haircut.
I feel a little bit like a little lad who loves berries and cream, but that is like anytime I get a little bob like this.
I'm a little lad who loves berries and cream. Berries and cream.
You know what?
That's a great commercial.
It was. I freaking love that.
I cannot.
That one and Old Greg were part of my college experience.
Greg.
Oh.
But you don't know who Old Greg is?
Okay, we'll introduce you to
You
Old
ever
Greg.
drink Bailey's from a shoe? No. Do you know that Old Greg and Noel
Yeah.
are the same person?
Wait, I think you told me that like a little
Oh,
bit
I
ago.
did.
No.
Noel from the Great British Bake Off is Old Greg.
No.
One of the little the host guy.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Well,
Noel.
I know the guys. I just don't know which one is
He's
no.
the
Dark
guy with
hair.
the black hair.
Curly
like
black hair.
Not curly.
Oh, straight black hair.
Yeah.
You
Like
know-
the very, like, he's over
quirky.
the top.
He's
Yeah,
like a
super
quirky.
quirky. Yeah.
The fact that I actually know what they're talking about and who they're talking about is scarring to me. I'm just going to let that sit there.
He's Old Greg.
Okay.
Me and
Drink
Girl,
Bailey's
as soon as you said curly, I was like, girl,
No.
you don't know who Noel is. But we'll let you pretend.
He's got like shaggy vibes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
that's why I think I
Okay,
see it as
okay.
curly.
It's
It's
Um,
shaggy.
When I went to get my hair cut, I have been historically going to get my hair cut in Charlotte, and I do
Historically.
I do find. Listen,
I don't know why the
I am
Historically.
nothing but an academic, okay? So I have been going to Charlotte, and I do the last couple of hairstyles. I went to Bishop's, which is like an LGBTQ plus, like really friendly barber shop, and then I followed that stylist to another stylish place, which was mostly femme oriented and was very like an empowering space, very inclusive space. So I am used to these very inclusive spaces. And it's not to say this place I went to was anti that, but I am for. So I was trying to figure out the best way to get a cheap haircut. And in Charlotte, go ahead and get just a trim, 60 to 100, okay? And so I got a recommendation from my sister to a little hair shop out in the country, and it's just a woman.
In the country.
It's literally a little building with a woman and her mom doing the haircuts. They were very nice, but it was a different salon experience than I was used to.
Yeah.
And it was right after I got my hair shampooed. An older lady came in to work with the mom, and she's sitting down, and, I could tell this is her time to shine. Like, she comes in for her hair appointments, and it's her time to chit chat and get down to business.
It's her therapy.
Yes, and she definitely had a very outgoing personality. And I'm sitting there, and she's like, they're talking about how to brush her hair. She's like, I don't ever brush my hair. Get a comb, da 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 da. And then suddenly she's like, I don't like that skinny comb. Get me the fat comb. And I am doing an impression of her voice. It's a little southern lady. Okay?
Yeah, and you're whispering too.
Get the fat comb. I don't like that skinny comb. And she's like, that skinny comb's been on a diet. Get me the fat one. And I was like, where is this going? Where is this going?
God.
And, she never, she preferred the fat one. But,
Same.
I'm just like, man, even combs can't get away from diet culture right now. Looking there in my head, I'm just like.
So even if something's in their quote unquote favor, they still are upset. So I want you guys to understand that there's no winning. There's no appeasing. There's no, you just have to be nice and that's not real. None of that is real. You have to remember that it's rooted in pathology. So no matter what, you find some way to be triggered, especially in their case because they're so bad. You have to remember too that there are different gradients within these issues, but they're so bad that they will literally just find a way, legitimately just find a way to be upset about anything. This is about combs. I mean, talk about grasping at the bottom of the barrel.
And I do think I was just sitting there like, I'm in prison, my hair is wet, and I'm getting a cut right now, and I just gotta listen and hold on for the ride because I am
I'm not
stuck here.
the
I'm like, and I literally like the way she talks about this back home. I'm gonna throw hands if she talks about this back home about it. But I'm just like, I can't. I'm not safe anywhere.
Daddy issues.
I'm not safe anywhere.
Hey everyone, did you know that the Fab Fatties are on Patreon? Yes, we are, and you can follow us for more behind the scenes chaos. We have bloopers, we have Allie raging, we have, me climbing out windows.
Maybe one day
we just
for
have
members.
a bunch of crazy stuff
Just
over
kidding.
there. Yeah, so you can follow
I don't know
us
if that
on
would be a copyright
Patreon.
violation.
That's PATTREON. EON.com/the Fab Fatties. PATE.
No.
PATREON. That's what I said. .com/the Fab Fatties. And we will see you over there.
And let me tell you, some of the places I've heard the most diet and like, oh, I've lost weight and this is at a fucking Lane Bryant dressing room. I cannot go shopping at a plus size store without hearing people being like, well, I've lost some weight, so I gotta get some new sizes, or I used to do this, but now I'm like, you don't have to apologize for needing plus size clothes.
And that's where I will say, like, as much as I literally, like, as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh my god, like, there was a collective eye roll in the room. I know there's just so much self-hatred in there.
It's so much shame.
Self-hatred, it's shame,
There's so much judgment from them. They are so much better than you guys. They're so much better than anybody that has an issue, even though they probably still do. One of the things about not having these issues as bad or as much or at all, for me, there's maybe like these very, very, very tiny things, which again, I've made it such a habit to not fixate on this type of stuff. But one of the things about recovering from it is that you're not upset if you hear somebody else with the issue. You just kind of know what it is. And you're just like, okay, I know what that is. And that's it. Notice how there's no judgment in that. There's no, there's none of that. It's just like, I just know what is going on. And I don't think it's good to necessarily, I don't think it would be good for me to judge necessarily. Especially, it's different when I do my mid-sized princess videos because that's people are addressing it publicly and making statements about it. Often from a semi-activistic stance or at the very least a promotional stance, but still putting out messages to the public. If somebody is having their private feelings or their personal feelings with their friends or whatever at a store, there's just really no reason to judge that or to honestly make it your business at all, in my opinion. There's just no purpose to it.
behind those closed doors in that fitting room, they don't feel the way that we feel, right? And the way that we are continuing to work on feeling every single day, because it's not something that we get to wake up every single day and say, I feel amazing today, because the world certainly accepts me exactly as I am, right? So it's fucking hard. It's fucking hard. So I'm not gonna hate on anybody who is in a Lane Bryant dressing room.
But you kind of are.
Because I've fucking been there and I get it. But goddamn, I know.
You're saying you're not hating it, but your emotional tone, how you're talking about it, all these different aspects is very judgmental and it's very condescending how you are emoting about it. So you may be saying one thing, but people feel and perceive another.
Oh, it is hard. It is like, it's on the one hand, it is so healing being around other fat people.
Yes.
And on the other hand, it can be so difficult being around people who have not done the work yet.
Who disagree with her.
So ashamed.
It's made me think like, oh, I used to think I'd love to have like a plus size boutique or something.
Yeah.
I'm like, ooh, that can be inviting a lot of tough conversations all the time, and different points of view. Which is, like I think something like Juicy Body Goddess, which is here in Charlotte.
Oh, I want to go so bad.
I've only been to
Love
their
the work
store.
she does.
I've only been to their store once, but like at least, and she's obviously privately owned. At least she can do a lot of work in like setting the tone of her store, and she has set the tone as this is a place where we pause, where we talk and have positive experiences around fashion. And I do love that pushback, and I wish sometimes the people at Lane Bryant would do it a little bit more. Not obviously everyone's different. I'm sure there's some Lane Bryants that have very positive people that like are like, you look great. But the couple times I've gone, it's like they joined in on the talk, and I'm like,
yeah. And it's hard too because and I'm not faulting anybody for doing anything with your body. You do what you want to do with your body. It's your body, okay? But there's this one associate that works at the Lane Bryant near us, or the one Lane Bryant that I've gone to my entire life with my mom and then growing up, whatever. But the Lane Bryant in the mall, this associate, she's been there forever. Like I literally remember like when I was a little girl, she was in that store, and now like the last time that we went there, I remember seeing her there, and she's no longer a fat woman. That I noticed just in the last like year or so. And again, here I am commenting on somebody's body,
Yeah, but it's okay when you do it. It's okay.
Hard. It's hard. But even still, like that to me was a little bit like, oh man.
and I know people feel that about me, like, oh man, and I think there's a balance of like, that's okay. If you have an oh man about me and my body, like feel it. Yeah. Feel it,
So it's okay to judge if somebody has downsized. You see, there's no real logic, there's no real reason, there's nothing behind it. It's very hypocritical. There's nothing of substance. It's all based on their emotions or on their anxieties more specifically. There is no actual rules. So when you hear somebody like this, I'm going to keep saying it this way. When you hear somebody say weird things like this, you need to not internalize what they're saying, and you need to not take them seriously. Don't walk on those eggshells around them. Don't let them control you. Don't let them make you feel bad or weird because you're pointing out reality to them. Or because you're just not living in their delusion, to be honest. I mean, some of this is bizarre. It's not okay to ever say anything about somebody's body unless if we do. Unless if it's criticizing, downsizing, then it's okay. Unless if it's, we can't judge how anybody else acts unless if it's different than how we would act or different than how we want to think. It's not even that it's different than how they think. It's how they want to think. They are holding other people to a higher standard than themselves. It's called hypocrisy. It's called, I don't even know, but it's not a good look. I guess hypocrisy is inconsistency, etc. It's a very, very bad look. But what I will tell you is it's not even necessarily hypocrisy because there is no logic there. Like, there's no actual rules. There's no actual structure to what they believe. It shape shifts. So even if you call a comb fat, you're still in some way, shape, or form being fat phobic because they will find and create, honestly, any way to be offended because the actual purpose of it is to get triggered so that you will engage in the behavior. That's the actual reasoning behind it. The reasoning is, even if there's nothing, then I will think about something that happened in the past, even 20 years ago, so that there's still something. And then I can still complain about it and I can still engage in the behavior. There's no winning, there's no pleasing, there's none of that. So you have to engage in these conversations or with these types of people, understanding that there is no actual way to win or to be what they want you to be. And so if you think about it from that perspective, then you can properly strategize how you want to engage with them based on your situation, what's going on, etc., etc., etc. It's difficult. I know. That part is hard. Especially if you're an emotional girly pop or boily pop. If you're emotional, it can be tough because when people are kind of crashing out over weird stuff like this, it's very hard for us emotional people to keep a cool head or to keep our heads on straight. And you have to within these types of situations because there is no winning. And if you understand that there's no winning, I think that helps too. I think that helps a lot because then we can figure out, okay, well, there's no winning, there's no pleasing you. So we're not going to create policy based on what you have to say. We're not going to change medical based on what you have to say. We're not going to, accommodate what you're saying. We're not going to do these things because it doesn't need to be done because there's no actual goalpost. There's no actual solution. It doesn't exist. You can even have a store specifically for fat people and it's not good enough because it's not the right fat people going. The level of delusion of how much control they expect to have over the world around them is to a whole other level.
I do think that we have to figure out a way for people to have body autonomy while also reminding the way people actually treat us and talk about their body with us. But of course there is so much social currency within this that we're all operating within, right?
Sure.
And I get that participating in it is an aw man,
And the thing is, it's not like oh man, she's not.
Being overweight is not resistance and it isn't activism. It's just not. It's just you're eating too much, which you can have different reasons. There's a lot of different reasons why people do it, but it doesn't matter. That's what it is at its core. And there's not really anything more than that. Now, if you're trying to promote other people to do certain stuff, then that can be a form of activism. That's different. But just being a certain size is not activistic. But they really feel like it is. So if somebody engages in downsizing, then they've abandoned the cause or they hate the cause, even if they were never a part of it. What if they never believed in it? What if they were never an activist at all? You see? It's bizarre. It's a very strange way of looking at this issue.
That anymore. It just, oh man, this, I think, as I'm processing through it, I think she was just a positive fat influence in my life. Mm-hmm. And then it is almost to see it as oh, you didn't want to be fat anymore, But again, we never know why someone has lost weight. So, yeah.
We live in this society.
Yeah.
We are affected by what we hear.
Yeah.
Right? While we continue to work towards being inclusive.
Yes, and people are also affected by what you say as well. They always leave that out because, of course, what they say is always good and wonderful and the best thing ever. Again, even if they contradict themselves, they're always right. Of course. Of course they are, right? So it's always this bizarre thing of we live in a society, but we're not a part of it. It's huh? You're a part of it. You're a part of the problem. That's what I would say. I'd say you're a part of the problem. You're a problem. So yeah, we do live in a society, and your voice is definitely too loud for my comfort, and I will definitely say things against it. 100%.
From having thoughts that aren't the best. Mm-hmm. It doesn't stop me from being oh my God, good for her.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop us from when we were kids.
Yeah, because you guys are full of it. So of course. Of course. For me, I would never support somebody doing something that's too much. I'll put it to you that way. I'd never support it. And I know sometimes you don't always know or whatever, but you can kind of tell sometimes. I'll put it to you that way. And a lot of these things, they are visual, which people that are within it, they don't want you to think it is visual. But it is. Like, for example, I will throw shade and I will name names. If you look at William Hornby recently, it looks like there's something going on. He doesn't look well, period. You can visibly tell that something's going on. And they'll try to gaslight and they'll try to do this and that and the other, but you can see it. So if I saw somebody that doesn't look super well, or that you can kind of tell something's going on, I might not congratulate them, you know? I might not. But by the same token, I also know that within weight loss, there are fluctuations, there are hormone stuff going on. It is a stress to the body, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, exercise is a stress too, but you have to look at the person in the situation, you know? So I understand all that too, so I could kind of tell the difference, is what I'm trying to say. You have to look at things like pacing. You have to look at things like, you know, fluctuation, drastic fluctuation, things like that. That's where you're like, okay, you know, especially if it's unexplained, it's things like that.
This came up a lot in treatment for me, but like a lot of plus size girls growing up, teens, plus size teens, will literally wish for an illness so that their
Yeah, and that's
body
not
will
good.
lose
That
the
isn't
weight.
good at
How
all.
many of us have actually considered?
It's terrible. It's stupid. It's toxic ritualistic. It's awful because it's not required. Because people like you. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't say it's their fault. I would say that they have these toxic ritualistic issues, and you think stupid things. You think illogical things. You think things that don't make sense. You think things that aren't real. You are delusional in that state. That is a delusional thing to think. And that is something that definitely it needs to be addressed in a person. It just does. Why? Because in order to be at a healthy level, you don't have to have a disease. You don't have to have anything like that. That's not real. It's built on a false belief that would be the only way. But it isn't real. That's false. Which again, you guys would just reinforce it. So you'd continue to reinforce these types of things. So I don't want to hear I don't want to hear you guys acting like you care. You don't care. You reinforce it. When you say things like, it's impossible, it's this, it's that, these kind of things, they reinforce it. That's why I don't say things like that. First of all, it's not true. Second of all, I'm proving it isn't true. Third of all, it's reinforcement. And I don't engage in that. I've said it many times. I don't engage in it.
Cutting our
yes,
stomachs off.
Like there's
chopping our stomachs off.
Who sang that? Was Maddie somebody? That song?
Yes.
The Fat Funny Friend.
Yes.
And it was like literally talking about,
Okay, I need to be a little careful with this.
Like it actually makes a lot of logical
it's like literally
sense.
the logical next step in your
For
brain.
sure. I didn't even realize that those thoughts were problematic until recovery.
Sure.
You know? So
Yeah. And you still have plenty of other ones that are still problematic.
I just want to say that, like, even
Hold on, I need to be careful.
with your nephew. Yeah.
Can I, before we pivot to your nephew, I want to circle back to one thing. I like the vulnerable vibe that we've got going on. And it is reminding me, again, I need to like sit somewhere on a pillow, like what you said to me about like how, you know, I have to try really hard, right, to see the gray area in a lot of things. And I have a hard time doing it with myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I'm sitting here talking about, you know, oh my God, I commented on the Lane Bronx.
It's a symptom of the toxic ritualistic, by the way. You have to look at things in black and white. Which I always love the cheesy little, the thought that they have that only she has the problem when they all do. They all do, very, very obviously have the problem. But they're always like, she's the one that's got the issue. We're fine. No, you're all bad. You're all in it. Badly.
Giant lady's body, and now I'm a bad person. And so like the whole time we've been talking, I've been trying to like, can we take it out of the episode? Like how am I gonna navigate this? Like I'm a bad person now. I'm like, no, exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
I can be doing the work and also be in a society
Absolutely.
that has taught me this, and I'm still learning.
Well, I'm in a society that teaches me a lot of things, and I don't go along with it. So I guess I just don't understand that, and I don't understand how that's necessarily activism to just have that as a cop-out and be like, we live in a society. So if I say something the total opposite of my message, it's because of society. To me, that is a super, super shitty activist. It's really stupid. That is really dumb, which I'm glad that you guys say things like that because it's so stupid. I'm glad, honestly, because it's like, okay, good. You guys are not going to be convincing. I am so happy. That actually brightened my night a little bit, hearing that.
Trying.
Well, and I think for me, I have to live in that gray space, right? Like I am someone who's been in fat positive communities for a long time, and I still chose to have weight loss surgery. And to some people, that decision makes no sense to them. And I am willing to kind of live in the discomfort of choices I make when I'm fearful, when I'm unsure of the future, when I'm XYZ, right? Like I'm okay taking up that gray space, and I'm okay with people not understanding me.
But they're not okay with anybody else, in my opinion, doing anything. So it's like you're not even okay with somebody talking about how they look in certain clothes that Lane Bryant. It's like you have to pick a lane. If you want grace, you need to give it. It is what it is. It is what it is, you know? And for me, like I just personally, I'm going to have my stances that I'm going to have. I have the boundaries that I'm going to have. I have these different things, and I let the chips fall where they may. And that's it. Because as I said in the last episode, you cannot control how other people see you. You can do your best to set yourself upright. You can do your best to try to keep your ducks in a row. But that person, they can change their mind in an instant. People are fickle. It's not controllable, so it isn't smart to try to control it. It's only ever going to be lightning in a bottle. That's all it's ever going to be. So don't build your life on that in general, especially around issues involving size, because it's so incredibly fickle. It's so incredibly weird. People are so nebulous with this topic that if you really try to do all that, you will twist yourself into a pretzel and you will end up, probably really escalating your toxic ritualistic, because a lot of it has to do with how others perceive you. And you have to be aware of that. And you have to be okay that you can't control how other people perceive you. I'm just going to say it again because it's not in our control. So if it happens, then it shouldn't be a trigger. And you shouldn't engage in anything. It's not an excuse.
I'm also okay, like, I think sometimes it's one of those things where we feel very sure of our views. It doesn't always mean our actions align. It doesn't always mean every thought aligns. We walk ourselves back from things that can be really internalized.
Yeah.
Because, and this does lead to my nephew's story, this shit starts early. Yeah. This shit is so ingrained in us, right? Like, I was a fat kid. I was a fat 3-year-old. I have been fat my entire life, and there is not one moment of my life that has not been filtered through a fat lens for myself and through others' lenses on my body as a fat person. Like that, how? Like the things that are going to come out of me are going to come out of me from such a diverse and deep experience of being fat.
Yeah.
That it's hard to name any one thing as to why any of us do or have a thought.
Right. And so that's where I'm like, okay, I want to be a little bit more vulnerable here and tell you that when you had your weight loss surgery, even being one of your close friends, like we weren't best friends then, right? But even being one of your close friends, I didn't know what to say to you, right? And even doing the work, right? Being in community with you, I hadn't gotten this far yet, right? So yeah, every time I saw you, you were looking different, right? I saw, pictures on
And
the
it triggered her. Crazy.
internet that looked different, and I, even myself, I didn't know what to say, because yes, it was intentional, right? But I didn't know how it made you feel. I didn't, so like I was fighting an internal battle, like, so I can't even imagine, like, if you even, like, at the time or even now.
For anybody who's struggling with things like this, you don't have to say anything. You don't. If you're really like, I don't know, I don't want to trigger somebody, I'm not sure, you don't have to. You don't have to silence yourself either. But you also don't have to say anything if you're not comfortable. That's okay. If they ask you, then you can be honest, But there were certain phases for me where I was more or less comfortable with it. I'm extremely comfortable with it today. Like, I don't mind it at all. But a year ago, it was harder, So I would just... I think for me personally, I would be I'd have a little bit more caution if somebody's like morbid and above, just because you don't always know what's going on. Internally, I mean, and it can be a lot. And I tend to just be more sensitive towards people that are in those categories of obesity, because people tend to be very sensitive and very like nervous about stuff like that. Obese, kind of like small fat and below, I don't think it matters as much, and I don't think people care really. In general, they just don't. But that's my opinion, so that's probably how I would see it. That's like a loose suggestion I have for you. But if they ask, then tell them, But it's... No matter what, if somebody's in recovery, they have to get used to this concept that you can't control what other people say or think. It's a super important thing to get comfortable with. So it's not always a bad thing to say something either. It's so nuanced, and you have to just, I guess, do what feels right in the moment.
Like, could even think like what you would want people to say to you,
Yeah, a couple people did ask me. They're like, obviously you're doing this. I know you're doing it. And these are people that knew me privately, because, quite frankly, I just didn't tell people.
Yeah.
I just didn't feel... I didn't want to put any pressures on myself for any outcome.
Yeah.
I didn't know what would happen. I didn't know... I was taking a gamble. Let's face it. Like,
Sure.
to make a decision like that, you're taking a bunch of risks. And I didn't want to advertise it as something that others should do. I've always felt very solidly that this is a decision I made for myself, and I didn't want to influence others to do it. And I recognize that doesn't mean I don't influence others to do it. Like, me not wanting to influence does not mean I don't influence.
Sure.
So only a few people in my life knew that it was happening. And I think one of them had asked me, like, okay, I know you're doing it. You're obviously choosing to do it. How do you want me to talk to you about it? And my thing was, I want you to be as value neutral about it with me as you can. Now, whether you have feelings about it, I like, if it starts harming you, tell me. If you feel like you have to back away because seeing my body change is upsetting to you, that's
wild.
That's okay. Like, that's your right. At the same time, I don't want congratulations. I don't want praise. I don't want anything. If you say anything to me, say it descriptively. And there were a couple of times.
Yeah, I think it's so difficult to achieve that. I think it's just so ridiculous to try to set all those different ground rules with every single person all the time. It's just like, good luck, babe. Call me Chapo, but good luck, babe. Good luck. You know, I think I will always advocate for choosing your battles. Choose your battles. Sometimes they're big ones, and they matter, and sometimes they don't. And I do have that video about the toxic ritualistic reinforcement where I talk about things where it does matter a lot more. But somebody commenting on your weight loss or something, I just don't think that it's worth it. I don't think it's enough. It's typically not coming from a bad place. So I wouldn't consider it a battle that's worth it. Whereas like other things that are kind of nasty or, you know, sabotagey, it might be worth it in certain circumstances, especially if somebody won't back off. So that's where you have to decide. But those types of situations are a lot more rare. So this type of stuff, like somebody commenting on your weight and stuff, it's like, that's not going to be that rare. Like, you have to deal with it. And like I said, when I was tortured, I wasn't sure. Like, I was nervous about seeing my friends again when I went back to LA in August of last year. I was nervous. But it was fine. Nobody cared, and it was just whatever. It was just congratulations and things like that, and it wasn't a big deal. But I had to go live that and see that and experience it to know that I was okay. And so then I wasn't tortured about it anymore, you see? So you kind of have to do all that within recovery anyways. So, anyways.
Times where, yeah, like I could tell there were feelings. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember one time going to go eat with a friend and they're like, you just look so small in your chair and you're like sitting lower. Like listen, I have a big ass, okay? So I have a booster seat built in. My booster seat was gone, all right? Especially at first.
Which is crazy because your booster seat's not gone.
The booster seat has to go back up, okay? But like...
Listen, the booster seat was always there and it's always good.
I used to have the deluxe model booster seat. But
it's so deluxe,
you know, and the truth of the matter was, like, yeah, I felt different. Mm-hmm. I was physically taking up space differently. Yeah. And it was alien to me, and I was feeling it for the first time because chairs felt different, everything felt different. Mm-hmm. And I was trying to accept it as what it was versus having any kind of feeling about it because I couldn't choose to take up the chair differently at any moment, you know? So I was trying to take every day as what it is. What it is what it is, you know? Yeah. And my question to you is like, okay, now that I've stayed at a more so stable size, does it feel like that still? Or was it just the period of my body changing?
I don't think I think about it at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I think most people don't. Once it's stable, people just kind of get used to it. I think there's like, I don't know. There does need to, in my opinion, there needs to be some studies. Like, I really wish like some psychologists would do studies on these things because I do feel like my thoughts about it are that there are different types, like there are different points in the brain and stuff. Like when you're taking in that kind of information, it's kind of like once you get to a certain size and you stay there, especially for a year, people just forget or they start to not care. In my opinion, like at least Gen Pop, most people, they just are like, oh yeah, that was a thing, you know, because even in my life, I'm not even done yet. And I've shown pictures from the beginnings and people in my family, they're like, oh my gosh, whoa, like I didn't remember that kind of thing. So it's like, I don't think people really remember. So as much as a mid-sized princess is like, everybody always remembers and they, oh gosh, and they always say this to me and I just don't think it's that much of a thing. Like, especially if you don't really embody that energy anymore, people just kind of forget because I feel like in some ways, sometimes even you guys forget how big I used to be. You know? I don't forget. I don't, but I try not to because it's a part of my activism, so it'd be really stupid for me to personally forget. But it's like, I do think people just, they don't think about it after a while. It is the time that it's changing, where it's difficult.
Well, and something I've talked to like Alyssa about before is, you know, we're all relatively the same size. We all wear around the same size.
That's where my brain was. It was like, I don't think about it at all, except, how do I say this?
You have to just be honest.
Okay, I don't think about it. And then the little asterisk in my brain went, okay, I don't think about it, but
It's okay.
In the months after surgery, or like the year after surgery, I don't know, I couldn't share clothes with you.
Right.
I can share clothes with you now.
Right. Because I've gained weight back.
And I'm sorry for smiling about that, but like, I like sharing clothes with you.
All right. Is that reinforcement or is that reinforcement? I don't know if somebody who was honestly trying to get out of these issues could be their friends. Because they are particularly bad. Like, I need to really say most people are not this bad. They are like on a whole other level. And for anybody who has had experience with the issues that we're talking about, you know they are really bad. It's crazy. The stuff that they do in private must be out of this world. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. We will continue this tomorrow, though. And I might start it up again from this point because I feel like I may have more to say, but I don't want to get into all that tonight. So I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Have a good rest of your day, night, etc. We will be flopping all June. I'm flop crazy June. We are flopping. This is, we're getting towards the end of my flop era, so this is weird, but I will talk to you guys later. Bye.